So this past week, Venerable Kadro has been teaching on how to develop bodichita, and as part of that, on equanimity, on how to develop love and compassion during the Chinrezi retreat. So we have been saturated with these teachings. And she also shared this short text by Nagarjuna called Tale of the Wish-Fulfilling Dream. And I found it just incredibly beautiful. And it talks about reasons for why we can be fond of sentient beings. And so there were several verses that really struck me deeply. And so I thought to share those. And then something else came up in regard to those, so I thought to share that. So one of the verses reads, or just 2 lines of it actually. I and all sentient beings are equal with regard to happiness and suffering. Being equal with regard to happiness and suffering, we are family. And there was a phrase that kept coming up during the week of teachings and discussions, which was just like me. So all these sentient beings are just like me. And it reminded me of when I was facilitating a class at a local prison about nonviolent communication. We used this meditation at the beginning of many of the classes, and it was called Just Like Me. And I found some photos of people, so I thought to use these. And so we did this meditation to really get a sense that we are all equal. So this person has a body and mind, just like me. This person has feelings, emotions, thoughts, just like me. This person has felt hopeless and depressed, just like me. This person has experienced physical and emotional pain, just like me. This person has at some point been sad and disappointed, just like me. This person has been outraged and is suffering. They want to be free of mental pain, just like me. This person has felt unworthy, felt guilty, felt ashamed, just like me. And this person wants connection and love and has felt surprised and joyful, just like me. Another activity that we did to really see our similarities, we did it as an icebreaker at the beginning of our 12-week series, and it was called the Step In, Step Out game. And so I thought we could do a variation on this. So when we were in the prison, we all stood in a circle and an experience was called out. And if you had experienced that, then you stepped into the circle and we looked around and we saw our common humanity. And so I'll read some of these, and instead of stepping in, you can hold your hand up and we can all play along, and I'll do it too. And this just really shows how we are so similar. We experience the same things. So raise your hand if you've helped someone move. Raise your hand if you've been helped moving. Okay, a little bit harder. Raise your hand if you've broken up with a romantic partner. Raise your hand if you've been broken up with. Raise your hand if you've been taken to the hospital in an ambulance. Raise your hand if you've lost a family member or dear friend in the past 5 years. Raise your hand if you've felt angry in the past week. Raise your hand if you've doubted your ability and given up. And finally, raise your hand if you've doubted your ability and kept going. So I saw a lot of hands. And this can sound so simple and so obvious, but when we look around and we think about these particular situations, we see this is quite profound. I don't often think of all the people who lost a loved one in the past 5 years, or the pain of being broken up with, and that everyone has shared that. And not only do we all want suffering, all want happiness and want to be free from suffering, but we've all experienced happiness and suffering together. And that's where the next verse comes in. So Nagarjuna says, "Together with these beings, I have experienced the sufferings of the lower realms and all sorts of happiness of the higher realms. Since we dwelt as one, I am fond of them." So we can think about experiences in our life where we have experienced a situation together with others. We're almost always together with others. So thinking about taking a difficult test with your classmates, all struggling. I'm an only child, so I don't know about this one, but I'm guessing being with siblings, being punished, living through a natural disaster, enjoying a camping trip with friends, running in a race with thousands. I have done that. Walking in a protest for human rights. So we do these things together. We experience happiness together. We experience suffering together. And so then we can feel close to each other. We've had the same experience. And then if you can get your mind around rebirth, and that is an idea that's comfortable for you, then we can really stretch and think about more extreme examples. Fighting in a war, being in prison, being a cow in a slaughterhouse along with fellow cows, being a dog at a shelter along with all the other dogs, or living a life in a palace as royalty, or living a life in the celestial realms. We've done this, and we've done this together. And so to really think about this, it can really change our attitude. And this is just scratching the surface. I really personally want to spend a lot of time on this because I just see how different it is from my default way of looking at others. Because so often I'm thinking about how I'm different, how you're different, or how we compare. And I'm not focused on our similarities, but it's actually our similarities that brings us together, that creates a sense of fondness and love and compassion towards one another. And if we really think, just like me, then there's so much more mental space. Then we get out of the way and we can actually see each other. And there's just so much mental peace in the mind. So I really want to do this. I'm not there, but I really am starting to see the value of really putting these teachings into practice and not leaving them on the superficial level, because there's so much more when we dig deep and really think about this. So as we take these teachings from this past week and from all the teachings we've heard, and we put them into practice and really put them into our hearts, let's continually remind ourselves to reflect on our similarities. And in this way, we can grow fond of one another, we can help each other, and we can aspire to develop the skill to actually benefit each other in the most effective way.